take a look at how we interpret what the histogram would look like from the box plot, which is a little bit tricky. But one of the things that's important to remember is that each of the spaces we have in the box plot is 25% of the data or a quarter of the data. So it's the same number of data values in each one of these spaces. So this, say we had 100 data values, this would be 25 data values. This would be 25 data values. This would be 25 data values. And this would be 25 data values. And I think about it either like animals in different size pens or people in urban areas versus, I can't think of the opposite of urban, but rural areas, there we go, where you have more space or less space. And I like to think about it like people because it kind of reminds me of buildings. If we think about people being in like a denser area of a city, we tend to have taller buildings. So the bars of our histogram for an area of a box plot that's very small, because it's got the same number of people, but in a smaller space, they need taller buildings. Or they're more crammed together. Like we have to do something to account for the fact that we have the same amount of people, but less space for them. As the space gets bigger, those bars can drop because there's more space for them to be in that area. Something like that. And if we've got a really wide space, again, still 25%, so still the same number of people, they can be more spread out now. They have more space, they could have smaller buildings. We might even have a blank space between some bars here, and we don't know exactly what they look like, we just know that they're more spread out. So the lower bars means people don't have to be stacked up as much. And same thing with this other side. It's pretty wide, so we know that the bars can ultimately be lower. Again, we might have some space in there, but we don't know for sure. We just know that overall, the bars in these wider spaces must be shorter than the bars in the small spaces. And what we see when we draw in some example bars, just comparing the different sizes of space we have in our box plot, is that it starts to resemble something that's fairly bell-shaped. It's definitely not perfect, and there's certainly some skewness happening in the middle, and you can see that if you just isolate the graph here, that is absolutely skewed right. So you're thinking about the skewness in the right ways and looking for the right visual indicators. That additional piece of comparing all four spaces and their sizes, I think, is just the part that we needed here. So that's how we can go through and compare the different sizes of boxes in our box plot and think about what the bars of the histogram must look like as a result.